In the process of becoming a Christian and a Jew, the modern, largely godless white man subverted both Christianity and Judaism, respectively, and destroyed whatever was left in these revealed religions that was still sacred. The modern secular white man and his brown, yellow, and black-skinned mimic men are now attempting to do with Islam what had previously been accomplished with Judaism and Christianity. That is the fundamental explanation for the 1,000-year-old war on Islam that was unleashed with the greatest fury after September 11th. Muslims are now being subjected to a sophisticated and comprehensive effort to so rethink Islam, and to so modify their religion that it can be accommodated within the new universal global godless society. A new cosmetic version of Islam must emerge which would accept the Jews as rulers of the world and accept the State of Israel as the ruling state of the world. This must perforce be an Islam that would be devoid of all notions of jihad. Muslims are being told that the values of the new global society are indeed universal values of pure Islam. But the new global society and its cosmopolitan elite are the product of secular Western civilization, and it shares the values of that godless civilization. Among those values are the political shirk that has now embraced all of mankind in its deadly embrace, and the economic riba of the modern economy, whose embrace of mankind has brought a new economic slavery. Godless Western civilization made possible the establishment of both the Jewish state of Israel and the Saudi Wahhabi state of Saudi Arabia. And it is that civilization which has ensured the survival of both Israel and Saudi Arabia from their birth to the present. This is the key with which Muslims can seek to understand the world today. Neither of these phenomena can be explained without the Quran. The Quranic explanation that has emerged as the very core of this book is that the world is now in the control of Ya'juj and Ma'juj as well Dajjal, the false messiah. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained the purpose of a divine plan in which the Israelite Jews were expelled from the Holy Land after their rejection of the Messiah, the Son of the Virgin Mary, and their attempt to crucify him. Allah, most merciful, then gave them a certain period of time in which to seek his mercy. It may be that your Lord may yet have mercy on you. Quran, Banu Israel, 17-8. And he left only one door open for them through which they could earn mercy. That door to mercy was the one last prophet who was still to come. He was Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the prophet of Allah Most High. The Jews would have to believe in him and follow him, honor him and assist him in order to win divine mercy. Quran Al-Araf, 7-157. If the Israelite Jews were to reject Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the implication would be that the door for divine mercy would be closed, and that when the final countdown of the last age came, Allah Most High would bring them back to the scene of their greatest crimes, that is, the Holy Land. Quran, Banu Israel, 17-104. That Jewish return to the Holy Land would signify that their final divine punishment had commenced. This book has declared that such moment has arrived. The period of 17 months commencing after the arrival of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina was the most crucially important in all of Jewish history. The door to divine mercy was open when it became absolutely clear, at the end of 17 months, that the Jews had not only rejected Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but were conspiring to destroy Islam. Allah Most High decreed the change in Qibla, and this implied that the door to divine mercy was now shut for the Jews. Never again would they ever qualify for inheriting the Holy Land. Instead, it is Muslims who have now been bestowed that inheritance. It is He who has made you the Muslims inheritors of the Holy Land after the Jews. He has raised some of you by degrees above others that He might test you. Through that which He bestowed upon you, Banu Israel got more than any other people. For thy Lord is swift in punishment, yet He is indeed oft forgiving, most merciful. Quran Al-An'am 6-165. It was at this point in time, that is, after the change in Qibla and before the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the release of Dajjal and of Ya'juj and Ma'juj took place. Only one-eyed Muslims would now join with Jews to participate in interfaith services and joint prayer sessions. This is because Jews have now been brought back to the Holy Land to face the consequences of many evil deeds of theirs, including the evil that they now commit. At the top of that list is their betrayal of their covenant with Allah Most High. Jews already recognize that Allah Most High has punished them many times before. This book has explained the Islamic view that history cannot end before the Jews receive their final punishment. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has provided crucially important information on the subject, to wit, that a Muslim army would conquer Jerusalem, destroy the impostor state of Israel, and punish the Jews. The followers of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would thus liberate the Holy Land. Here, once more, is the prophecy of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to that effect. Abu Huraira reported that the Prophet said, "Black banners shall emerge from Khorasan area, which is now included in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and a little in Iran and Central Asia. And no force would be able to stop them until they are inserted in Elia Jerusalem." Sunan Tirmidhi. This is why Jerusalem in the Quran should be read again and again, and why it should lead every reader to a penetrating study of the Quran and to the explanations of the Quran that were given by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He spoke at length about Jerusalem and its role in the last age. Among the things that he said were the following. Narrated off bin Malik, "I went to the Prophet during the Ghazwa of Tabuk while he was sitting in a leather tent. He said, 'Count 6 signs that indicate the approach of the hour. My death, the conquest of Jerusalem, a plague that will afflict you and kill you in great numbers as the plague that afflicts sheep. The increase of wealth to such an extent that even if one is given 100 dinars, he will not be satisfied. Then an affliction which no Arab house will escape. And then a truce between you and Bani al-Asfar at the Byzantines, who will betray you and attack you under 80 flags. Under each flag will be 12,000 soldiers.' Sahih Bukhari." Narrated Abu Huraira, Allah's Messenger said, "The last hour would not come unless the Muslims fight against the Jews. The Muslims would kill them until the Jews would hide themselves behind a stone or a tree, and a stone or a tree would say, 'Muslim, or the servant of Allah, there is a Jew behind me, come and kill him.' But the tree Garkad would not say such, for it is the tree of the Jews." Sahih Muslim. Perhaps for the first time in history, a war is being fought with stones. The Palestinian Muslim Intifada uprising continues to deliver its response to Israeli oppression with stones. That is a truly ominous sign for Israel. In addition, Israel has engaged in the indiscriminate destruction of trees in the Holy Land. Thousands of olive trees have already been destroyed by Israel in a diabolical effort to increase the economic hardship being imposed upon the Palestinian people, Muslim as well as Christian. The outrage against these acts of facile awesome oppression and wickedness is such that the trees and stones in the Holy Land are now beginning to speak. In fulfillment of the prophecy of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of course, the trees and stones cannot be heard with the external ears. Rather, it is with the internal hearing faculty in the heart of those who possess faith that one will hear the trees and stones when they speak. That, perhaps, explains why the Saudi, Egyptian, Turkish, Jordanian, and Pakistani governments, as well as so many other governments around the world, appear unable to hear the stones speaking in the Holy Land. Our view is that the above prophecy of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is already being fulfilled today in the Palestinian Intifada. As time now passes, the stones will speak louder and louder. Only those who are spiritually deaf and dead will fail to hear them. If the very stones are now crying out to Muslims everywhere in the world to liberate the Holy Land from Jewish occupation and oppression, the implication is that Muslims should mobilize themselves and devote all their efforts and all their resources for that struggle. And that struggle be given precedence over such mundane goals as, for example, raising the standard of living of a people who are already living comfortably. It follows quite logically that Muslims cannot reside in territories where the war against Islam and support for Israel are most pronounced. Such would be USA, Britain, etc. Muslims must migrate from such territories and go to reside in places where they can better preserve their faith and support the struggle for the liberation of the Holy Land. The world is increasingly being forced to recognize the oppression created and sustained by Israel, an oppression that will constantly increase until, according to the prophecy of Prophet Muhammad alayhi al-salam, a man would pass by a grave and roll on it saying, "I wish I were in the grave instead of the dead man, not for religious reasons, but because of oppression." Sahih Muslim. Perhaps the most important warning that this book gives is that every tomorrow will now witness increased oppression of those Muslims who remain faithful to Islam. Indeed, since September 11th, the oppression of such Muslims has dramatically intensified all around the world. Muslims are now living through the mother of all trials. The present ruling state in the world, USA, is leading an effort to make the world safe for the next ruling state, Israel. The guidance that the Quran provides in Surah Al-Kahf is the only guidance with which Muslims can hope to survive this wicked storm. The only guide who can successfully guide Muslims in this age is the guide who understands the age in which we now live, and whose understanding is derived from the Quran and the Ahadith of the blessed Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Such a guide would understand the shirk of the modern secular state and its system of electoral politics, and he would advise Muslims to abstain from that shirk by not pledging allegiance to a secular constitution. He would also understand the riba of the modern economy and advise Muslims to abstain from all forms of riba to the maximum extent that is possible for them. He would recognize paper money to be haram and would be taking steps to encourage Muslims to return to the use of gold and silver coins as money, which can be used in the market as legal tender. It is unlikely that the International Jew would allow the government of Malaysia to reintroduce gold and silver coins as legal tender. The guide would recognize and warn his people about the backdoor riba now being practiced by Islamic banks, credit unions, and other financial institutions. Such a guide would declare this to be the age of Yaju and Maju and of Dajjal, the false messiah. All others are just whistling in the wind. My book entitled Surah Al-Kahf and the Modern Age, which is now being written, will, insha'Allah, attempt to explain the guidance which that surah of the Quran provides. At the very heart of that guidance is the imperative of disconnecting from the godless cities of the modern world and moving to the countryside where land is cheap and where there is water. Muslim villages should then be established in such locations, and then an attempt be made to establish Islam as the way of life of the villages. The work of my teacher, Maulana Dr. Muhammad Fadler Rahman Ansari, entitled The Quranic Foundations and Structure of Muslim Society, is a blueprint for survival, since it provides the specific guidance of the Quran that must be applied in the establishment of authentic Islam in such Muslim villages. It is from children who grow up in Muslim villages that are disconnected from the godless world that the future Muslim army would emerge, which would liberate the Holy Land.